Good evening. This is the Agent for Change Network. I'm your host, Rob Bell, and we talk about relevant issues that affect the community, and in particular, the black community. Tonight's topic is going to be about the city of Philadelphia, the city of Philadelphia and its police department, its 911 system, and how all of that is related to the ongoing violence in the city that is at a phenomenal peak. Last year, they had about 499 homicides, and I think to date they're close to about 360 already, and it's only September. So they'll probably exceed that number, and it is putting a serious, having some serious impact on the residents in the city of Philadelphia. I, as we always do, have a host this week, and the young lady that I have tonight is somebody that is near and dear to my heart. I love her. You know, I've known her all my life. We've been involved with each other forever. When I asked her to come on the show, was no hesitation. She just dropped whatever she was doing and said she would gladly be a host. I'm sorry, a guest on the show. And I was ecstatic because I value her opinion and I value her knowledge on just about every subject that we talk about. Her name is Pastor Ava McKee. Hey, Ava, you there?
Yes, I am. I'm so happy that you asked me to come in and talk to you tonight about some of the things that is going on in Philadelphia with the violence and just how the black community is dealing with the violence in the city and even dealing with each other
Yeah.
when it comes to the violence.
It's really getting crazy out of hand. Let me throw this first question at you. Being a resident of Philadelphia pretty much all your life, as I have been, I've just recently moved down here to Atlanta, Georgia, and I've only been here for close to 4.5 years now, and I do miss the city, some aspects of it. I certainly miss you guys and my family.
Hmm.
As a female living in the city of Philadelphia, what is your feeling about the first African American female police commissioner, Danielle Outlaw? What kind of job do you think she's doing so far?
I personally believe that she's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Um, she's a police officer. One, she's commissioner. Um, I'm glad that we have a female commissioner, but I think that pressure. I think she's under a lot of pressure pertaining to the things that are going on in the city, the things that the police department, the police officers and stuff do. And then even right now with the cutbacks that's going on in the police department is causing a lot of crime because there's nobody there to come to emergencies,
I'm
and
glad
then
I'm glad
it's
you said
thrown
that.
on her.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you said that because I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm glad you said that because that was my second question to you. As I've been reading in the papers down here, you guys are short about close to 250 police officers,
Yes.
and also short, more importantly, in your 911 center. And so when people are
Hmm.
calling 911, they're either getting a busy signal or they're getting a recording saying to call back in a minute. And when somebody calls 911, they want immediate response.
Yeah,
And
they
you
do.
guys are just not getting that. What's your thoughts on that?
um I think it's horrible. I really think it's horrible. um I've we had a loss in our family And one of the things that happened was when 911 was called, there was no one there to answer the phone. And then when someone finally did answer the phone, just getting the help to come because of the slow response of 911. We don't know if that could have changed anything in the situation or not, but there was no one there to answer. Also, I just had a personal incident that happened right on my block, and the police were called. No response. We got a response as far as 911, but getting the police to the location 2 hours later.
Wow.
2 hours. I said something to the police officer when they came on the block. When they came on the block, I saw them coming and I said, they coming now after 2 hours. And as soon as the police officer got out the car, I was upset because I said, would you have to wait for somebody to be murdered to come? I said it was just, the grace of God that nothing escalated to the point of death. I said, but it was almost to that point
Right.
because we had some people that was on the block that was, causing havoc,
Right.
trying to promote a fight or argument. And in the city of Philadelphia, they had no problem pulling out guns.
No, no, not at all. Not at all.
They have no problem pulling out guns. So my whole thing was, what are you guys going to do about this? What are you guys going to do about it? I said because we are doing some things like we're having like different meetings, town meetings and stuff like that. Like we get together in the community and try to talk about some of the things that we could do to try to change things. But the mayor has to be willing. The mayor has to be willing to help us in that situation
So
because we can't. He has the power.
right. So as a citizen, what I'm hearing you saying is that I hear you saying a couple of things. Number one, there's a disconnect with you first calling 911 and no one really answering, and when you finally do get an answer, they say they're going to dispatch an officer to the scene, and then it takes that officer 2 hours to get there.
Yes.
And then when the officer finally gets there, you air your discontent with that officer. And I would assume that they're just really nonchalant about their response
Yes.
and not really
Yes.
giving you the kind of response that you deserve as a tax-paying
Yes.
citizen in the city
Yes.
of Philadelphia. You guys rely on the police to protect you, and you're being proactive and getting them down there to prevent, like you say, somebody from getting murdered, as opposed to just turning your back and walking into your house and saying forget it, and God forbid somebody get killed.
Right.
And as a group of people, and you live in West Philly, correct?
Yes, I do.
And as a group of people, you guys are getting together and having town hall meetings and trying to, as people in the community, do something about it. And
Right.
you're not getting any support from
No
city government.
support. No,
You
it's
know,
brushed off. It's brushed off. And then I think it's so much talk about defunding the police. And then I'm gonna say this too. The pandemic has really affected the police department.
right?
And see, a lot of people are not talking about that either. Is that the police department, a lot of police officers got sick.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Responding, interacting with people, and they feel this almost the same way as anybody else about the pandemic. Why should I put my life
exactly.
in jeopardy? I'm already putting my life in jeopardy just being a police officer.
Right,
You know
right.
what I'm saying? But now here's this virus.
Yeah, that's
Here's this virus. Yes.
that they have to
And
deal with.
so go ahead.
No, no, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, here's this virus now, and the virus is not helping anything when they have to respond to people's homes and be inside people's homes and interact with people. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just a shortage from the defunding or whatever their situation, not having the help, a lot of it of them not having the help comes also from the pandemic,
Right.
comes from the virus.
Right.
So and then the way things are in Philadelphia now, in West Philadelphia, uh there's no fear of the police.
When you
There's
when
no fear.
yeah, when you say that, what do you mean by that?
There is no. I remember one time in my life, the police department had a little bit more. If you
Mm-hmm.
saw cops coming, you
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying. You knew how to stop some stuff.
Right.
You see them coming, oh, and here comes 5-0 or whatever. Whatever the little sayings was that they had. You would stop doing what you're doing. But now, is there's this nonchalant attitude. You don't really care whether the police are coming or not because they feel like we just as armed as you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you and I grew up in the Frank Rizzo era, and
Yes.
and during that time, the police in Philly were feared. Like you say, when they
Oh
came
yes.
through, you better be acting like you got some damn
That's right.
sense, because they
Hmm.
would put a boot up your butt
Yes.
and lock
Yeah.
you
Well,
up.
look, okay, look, not just lock you up. You might be. I don't know if you'll make it back home,
That's right.
but
That's
you
right.
know,
And there was no such thing as police brutality then, because Frank Rizzo didn't
yeah,
tolerate that.
no. And so but now there's no fear of the police. As a matter of fact, there was a police officer. There was a shootout around the corner from me the night before last
Wow.
with the police. Because the guys that carry the same guns they have or carry firearms that are even more deadly than what the police have, they have no fear of the police.
Right.
Have a shootout with the cops, just like we in OK Corral somewhere.
That's
And a police officer was shot.
wow.
A police officer was shot, and it was a couple of days ago, and that's like right around the corner from me. So this is what we have to contend with in this neighborhood. This is worse than it's ever been,
Right. And how long
and
have
we
you been
don't.
living in that neighborhood?
All my life,
Yeah.
over 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
over 30 years, I've been living in this
And
neighborhood.
so over the last 30 plus years, have you seen the attitudes of the young people change from the way it used to
Uh,
be into
yes,
the
I
way it
have.
is now?
Yes, I have. First of all, I think that stems from babies having babies, young kids having children, not knowing how to raise them. You know how when we were raised with different uh, values and things,
Right.
and there were certain things we didn't do. Even if we did certain things, we didn't do it around adults.
Absolutely not.
And we didn't do it around, certain people come around. We wouldn't even sit on a church step and smoke a cigarette.
Oh, heck no.
If you walk past a church, you wasn't sitting on the step smoking no cigarette. Now they do everything. They shoot up drugs and do everything else on the church steps. Not that the church building means anything, okay? So that I don't want people to think that I'm saying that it has to be, but it was just a certain reverence for certain things. There was a certain respect for our parents, or and these kids today don't have respect for anything.
Right. Well, the church is an institution in our community, and I don't care if it was back in the day up until now. It's supposed to be respected,
It's
you
supposed to
know.
be.
And for whatever reason, these young kids have no respect for human life. They have no respect
Nope.
for their parents. They have no respect
Nope.
for the church. There was a time, Ava, when we would ride the bus, and if we used foul language and somebody was on that bus that lived on our block, they would get back to the block and tell our mothers or our fathers that we was on the bus cursing. And by the
Mm-hmm.
time we got home, we caught it
Mm-hmm.
for that, or they would chastise us themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just something
Well,
that's
you
really
know what the old saying used to be, it takes a tribe
right,
to raise a child.
right,
And so that meant the community. The community used to stick together as parents.
mm-hmm,
And they watched out for everybody's kids. You know what I'm saying? You couldn't, like you said, you couldn't disrespect the elders, the adults. We had to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. We wasn't no talking back to an elder. You know, and just like you said, that person, that neighbor, or someone might have caught you doing something, and they might have smacked your behind, and
Absolutely.
then took you home, and then your mother did the same thing
Right.
because
Right.
–
Right.
so the whole block, the whole community, we looked out for one another. We were all close knit in the community. But now, since we have a lot of kids raising kids, and a lot of drug addiction in the neighborhood with parents, they're not parents. The kids are raising themselves. The gun toting, a lot of that is a form of survival. What they consider to be a form of surviving on the streets because they're raising themselves, and they have to go to selling drugs in order to survive
Right.
because a lot of the parents are on drugs. So the child automatically goes right to the very thing that has caused a family split,
Right. Now, do you think?
and
I'm sorry.
use it for survival.
Right. To feed the family.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you guys are having your community meetings, are there any commanders from the police district that you live in coming out to hear what you guys have to say?
In some cases,
Mm-hmm.
like we have some if you a lot of times, some of the churches have relations with the police officers. So sometimes when we have some of the meetings in some of the churches and stuff like that, we do have some police leaders that come out. They talk to the community, say what they want to try to do. You know what I'm saying? We have things that we're trying to talk to the mayor. Mayor's trying to talk, and he's trying to do this or trying to do that. We just see it as basically talk,
Right.
because once the meeting is over,
It's the
it's
same old,
over.
same old.
Yeah, it's over. And then that's a discouragement to a lot of the community as well, because they don't see progress in these meetings. They don't see where change is taking place because of the meetings. So a lot of times when you send out, word that it's going to be a town hall, or it's going to be something where, the community can come together, talk to some of the leaders or something like that, you might get 10, 20 people
Mm-hmm.
that show up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Instead of a whole community showing up, you'll get a few couple of people that come
Right.
because they tired of hearing bull.
Right.
They tired of getting having promises that don't manifest.
So on a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate the services that the mayor has provided for the city relative to this violence, and how would you rate the police department's response to the violence in the city?
Um, the first, as far as the mayor's concerned, he need to go.
So you're not
He
happy with
needs
Mayor
to.
Kennedy?
He needs to go. He got to go.
Okay.
He's doing nothing to me, in my opinion. That's just my personal opinion. He's doing nothing to me that's doing anything that's helping our communities.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And what was your second
My,
half
my,
of the
my second
question?
question was in terms of Commissioner Outlaw and her police officers. What are they doing from a proactive standpoint to help cut down? We're not going to stop the violence. We're going to help cut down on some of the violence. What are they doing from a proactive standpoint? You think?
I think I think that she's trying to do something, but she's a woman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And you really hate to say that women are not respected the same way that a man that same job would be.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well.
just feel as though some of the things that she really, I think her heart is in the right place. I really do. I just think that it's harder for her to get things done than it would be for if a man was in there.
Well, you got to look at this, Ave. First of all, the Philadelphia Police Department is systemically overwritten by the old boys network,
Yep,
back from the
I
Rizzo
agree.
era where all the cops stick together, number one. Number two,
Mm-hmm.
you have an outsider coming in from Portland, Oregon, be it a man or a woman. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't take too kindly to that. If you can remember
Mm-hmm.
Charles Ramsey
I agree.
when Charles Ramsey came in, they didn't take too kindly to him, and I thought he was a pretty good police commissioner. When
Right.
when Timothy came in, they didn't take too kindly to him. I thought he was a pretty good police commissioner. They like to keep that old boys network kind of going, and so not only is she up against the fact, and I agree with you that the fact that she's running a male dominated organization
Right.
and she's a female, it's already
Right.
hard for females to be
Yes.
involved in any male dominated organization, let alone law
Yes.
enforcement. Then
The
she's up
church
against,
included.
yeah, she's up against this racist regime of the Philadelphia Police Department. So
Yes,
she's
she
really up
is.
against it. And I don't think when they interviewed her for the job, she knew what she was getting herself into, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel the same way you feel, man. She's between a rock and a hard place, and
Yes,
she's
she
catching it right
is.
now, and especially with, like you said earlier, this whole pandemic thing.
Mm-hmm.
This thing with recently when y'all had the floods, and then y'all had the
Mm-hmm.
protests with the George Floyd thing, and you had the
Yep.
armor vehicles coming through the West Philadelphia area, right around
Yes,
the
we
corner from
did.
your house, throwing tear gas in the street.
Mm-hmm.
She's had some very difficult situations that she's had to kind of tread her way
Yes, she
through,
has.
and tried to save face and not tuck her tail between her legs
Right.
and run
Because she still
away.
has a job to do,
Yeah, it's a
regardless.
tough situation for her. So I do kind of feel for her, and she wants to bring some innovative police work to a Neanderthal old school style
Right.
police department, and them guys ain't having it. I think this is my personal opinion. I think to a large degree, some of the stuff they did the last couple of years kind of sabotaged her on purpose. You know,
I do
you know
too.
when when when
I
when
do
when
too.
they came through the
That's why I
street.
said as a woman, she's having a hard time implementing
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
that she's trying to put forward to resolve some of these issues that's going on here in Philadelphia. And what's happening is she's finding herself always defending,
right,
defending the actions of her police department.
right,
And she shouldn't have to be in a situation all the time
right.
where
You
she
got to
has to
do that.
defend.
I agree. I agree. But being a police officer and trying to stick by your troops and trying
Yeah,
to save
yeah,
face, and
yeah,
trying to make the mayor look good,
yeah.
it's a tough situation because you guys, man, and you dealing with Larry Krasner, the DA, who was fighting Nesby, the guy from the FOP, who are fighting the mayor, and then the mayor and her. It's the whole hierarchy and the power structure in the city of Philadelphia is off kilter, man. And like you said, the young boys are just lawless, and they don't fear nothing, and they're just running around.
They have
You
no
know,
fear.
they killing everybody that they can, and nobody's getting locked up for it, and there's no prosecution for it.
Nope.
And so they're just, it's just off the chain there. I'm gonna ask you one last question before I let you go. As a citizen, especially living in West Philly, pretty turbulent area where you live at, how do you feel going out into the streets every day?
Sometimes, well, as a child of God, I put a lot of my trust in Him to protect me.
Okay,
But God didn't make no fools either.
that's for sure.
I mean, if you got common sense, you're doing everything with caution when you go out there. When you go, it's like being in a war zone. You know what I mean? It really is. You never know when the gunfire gonna start. You don't never know where you're gonna be at because I mean, even the kids and everything is what was it, a month ago when the baby was shot? That
Yeah.
was right around the corner from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once again,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just it's horrible. You're scared to go out in the streets. People are afraid. They don't want to walk the streets. When it comes to a certain time of night, you close to home,
Right.
and you hoping and praying that bullets don't come through your windows.
Yeah, because that's happened too. Yeah.
That's what you hoping for, cause it's really not safe even in your own home, for
Wow.
real.
That's crazy. So I'm gonna give you the last word here, Ave. If you had a magic wand and you could maybe do something a little different than what's being done already, what would that be? What would you do?
I would clean up this. Well, personally, what I would do, I think the men need to stand up
I agree.
more.
I agree.
I would do something to get these men to be on one accord to try to help get their communities back on course. And if I had a magic wand, that's what I would do. I would wave it and get these men's heads back in the space where they're supposed to be so that they can get these communities and get these neighborhoods back on track and get it together. Because one of my mottos is this: God had an order with things. He created the man first. And if the head is cut off of a body, the body don't live. Once the head is cut off, the man, God made the man the head. If the head is cut off, the body don't live.
That's
And
that,
the heads are cut off the men.
yeah,
They're cut off.
yeah, and
And so the body of the community is dying.
yeah, that's very profound, and that you couldn't have put it no better than that because that's exactly what's happening. The body of the community is dying because the head
Hmm.
of the man is being cut off because the
Right.
man is not stepping up to the plate.
Right. Exactly.
I agree with that 120%. All right, Miss McGee, I appreciate your thoughts and what you brought to the show today.
It
You
was
know,
good
I
talking
love
to you,
you.
Rob.
I love you. I love you. I will
I love you as
continue
well.
to be in touch with you. And by all means, Ava, stay safe out there. Please
Doing the best I can.
stay safe out
Doing the
there.
best I can. Amen.
And I will keep in touch. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye bye.
That was our friend Ava Scott McKee. Brought a wealth of information to the Agent for Change Network this evening. What I liked about it is you got a account from a person that's living in the trenches. You know, she lives in West Philly. She lives in a community that is very challenging. You know, I have known Ava all my life. I've been in that neighborhood. As a matter of fact, that's the same neighborhood that my wife grew up in. And so I know that neighborhood well. And that neighborhood has always been a challenging neighborhood, but today it's probably that much worse. So her opinion is heartfelt. It comes from personal experiences. And, you know, that's the kind of situation that not only her, but people in that community are going through on a daily basis. My name is Rob Bell, and I am the Agent for Change. We do a broadcast every Thursday at 7 p.m. If you like the show, go down to the right hand of the video. Excuse me. And press the icon and subscribe to the video. Go to the bottom of the video and click the thumbs up button and let us know that you appreciate the information that we are giving out to you. we will continue to be I will continue to be the agent for change and give out as much information about how we can make improvements in our community. And I would hope that you receive this information and collectively we can move forward in our communities. I often talk about the city of Philadelphia because it's the city that I grew up in and I come from, although I am living in Atlanta, Georgia right now, and almost some of the same things are going on down here. And when I have guests on the show that's from Atlanta, they give you their thoughts and their ideas and information about what's going on down here. But I chose to talk to Ava today because I wanted to address the issue of the shortage of police officers in the city, but more importantly, the shortage of 911 operators in the city and how that is taking a toll and having a drastic effect on police officers responding to issues of violence and issues of crime in the city of Philadelphia. And it's making their numbers increase by leaps and bounds. So again, make sure that you listen to the show. Will be a video on Facebook, and you can always check the videos out on my Agent for Change Network YouTube channel. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.